Welcome to Here's How We Get There. It's the daily show filled with conversations about business and mental health in a down-to-earth style with real-world language. Now let's dive in with your co-hosts, Kenneth Shark Kinney and Trey Tucker.
Shark, big news. WWE has a new home after being on USA Network for so many years for Monday Night Raw. They're now going to be on Netflix. Netflix has paid $5 billion to get those exclusive rights to WWE. What do you think about the move for both sides?
Smart move for Netflix. Again, I don't know, depending on the way that you manage your subscriptions, though, if it's necessarily great, again, for the consumer. But I think just like we were talking about with Amazon recently on how they were increasing their subscription price, how Peacock was showing football games, this is yet another evolution of Netflix now jumping into live sports. They're starting to do more with ads, and everybody's going to end up paying more for all these services. And unless the WWE is doing an amazing amount to provide better fake wrestling, I don't know that the product's necessarily worth it. It's just interesting that there's a value. They put 10-year deal valued at more than $5 billion. That's not a lot. That's a lot of money to spend on content, and not a lot for Netflix because they spend a lot of, they spend a bazillion. But it did show that TKO Group Holdings, who owns the wrestling group, they are, for the SmackDowns and WrestleManias and SummerSlams and all that stuff, their share spiked up 15% right after it happened. But again, this is the way TV is delineating across these brands. And so this is, they're spreading this around so thin that it's going to get to the point where nobody's going to be able to manage it. And I don't know, again, that I think it's necessarily great for the consumer, and it'll probably mess up a little bit of it'll redefine a little bit of that Netflix and chill.
That's true.
What are your thoughts?
Might create some jealousy among some of the viewers.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are basically willing to pay for live sports and live events in general, and that's what these streaming services know. They're not going to stay long for the series because they'll watch the series and then cancel the subscription, but they know these live events in sports are the gold mine. So I get why Netflix is doing it. They've picked a brand that has really rabid loyalty, so I'm sure it'll pay off for them. And it's a really strong move for WWE because it's guaranteed revenue for them, I assume more than what they were getting with USA, but also it guarantees the individual wrestlers some easy avenues to star in shows and movies that Netflix is producing. So all kinds of cross promotion and opportunities for them as individuals. But I agree with you, the consumer is the one who loses here, because Netflix, even before this news, I think even a few days before the news, they were already preparing people for the increase of their prices later on this year. So I just don't know where this stuff ends. And at some point, the idea of just demand is going to shrink. If you keep asking people to pay for all these separate subscriptions, they're eventually going to put their foot down and vote with their money about what's really valuable to them. And we'll see if Netflix is going to be the winner or loser in the long run for it.
Well, they probably identified, again, in this market space, that niche of the market that they think will help boost their subscriptions. And that's probably makes sense. But it's just, it's, to your point about that earlier, it's the only reason, for example, in combat sports, it's the only reason I still keep ESPN, ESPN Plus. I keep it because of the UFC. I can go watch all the other sporting events for the most part on other channels, especially sports live elsewhere. But I keep UFC. I watch UFC events, so I keep coming back over and over, and that's why it's really smart for what they do for these massive shows that the wrestling world puts on. So wish them well.
Thank you for joining Shark and Trey on the Here's How We Get There show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit here'showwegetthere.com. That's here'showwegetthere.com.